Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty. Arganissima, New York.
All right, folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, a new day, a new show, a new guest with your host, the one, the only Hurricane H. And today's show is going to be a unique show, and every show is unique on its own way. But there's a reason I'm stating, making this statement is because in a couple of instances in prior shows, I had a mention or a discussion or brief discussion about what I refer to as a concept, and we're going to cover that up today and get a clarity on that one. But the concept of hypnosis, or the principle of hypnosis, or the phenomena of hypnosis, and we'll talk about that and get the definition from our expert today. But hypnosis is really wildly interesting in a lot of things. I mean, there's skeptics. Is it real? Does it work? Is it dangerous? All these things have always come up as potential questions. I've seen it in action a few times. But today, I finally got ourselves, our, specialist, Robert Parker, who is actually a clinical therapist, hypnotherapist. And he's an expert in hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And he's going to guide us through the concept as I refer to it. And I know that he is going to guide me, and he's going to actually clarify that word concept. And we're going to remove that from our vocabulary here when we discuss and cover hypnosis as a principle. So I want to have something to call it. So this is going to be important when I refer to it. So first things first, as always, thank you for being on the show, Robert, and welcome. And I was looking forward to this, and I'm happy. I'm excited. I think our audiences will enjoy this particular session because it's gonna resonate with a lot of people. Whether they believe in it, they know what it is, they've tried it, not tried it, doesn't matter. Today we're gonna bust all the myths about it and clarify about it and get more into deep stuff about it. So Excellent. First things first, if you don't mind, give us a little bit of your background, and then we'll go into like the topic of the day.
Absolutely. Well, my name is J. Robert Parker. I am a union certified master hypnotist with the Hypnotherapist Union Local 472. And I own Twin Ravens Hypnotherapy and Research LLC. I was educated at HMI College of Hypnotherapy via a 720-hour postgraduate program, and this is my calling. This is what I do. It's for the first time I say I love my job, because I truly do.
Wow.
But yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that they love their job. I can tell you that.
No, I haven't until now.
Well, there you go. Well, again, I mean, I think that's a good thing to start with, because people in general are always not happy about what they do. And I think that's important to mm-hmm. believe and really enjoy what you do. And when you don't, maybe that's the time to start looking for something better.
Oh, that's different. Pretty much how I've worked. Yeah.
Well, I think it's all of us, right? But but so you said postgraduate, so that means you've had a different background, and then you've changed it, and you went through this particular formation, and you got into this somehow. Mm-hmm. So first things first, why and how did you get just to think about it, like, I'm just gonna become a hypnotist,
I mean, it's kind of how it happened. Like, okay, so most of my career I've been an artist, specifically a tattoo artist, and recently I kind of moved states, kind of wanted to get away, start over, and I found myself working as a chef. And the pandemic hit, and I didn't have a job, and I was dating a waitress at that same place, so we didn't have a job. And it kind of came to me to figure out something to do. And I I have nothing if not a bag of tricks of ways to make money. And one of the ways I had never done that before that I attempted was I began reading tarot cards professionally and making pretty good money doing it. And I found that I was less reading people's fortune, so to speak. And I was more using the archetypes that are present in the tarot cards to give people perspective, to kind of give them that new perspective on their problems. Because if you're calling up a phone psychic, you've got something that you need to talk about, and that's what I was doing. And I found out there's a few people I genuinely helped, and I kind of got to thinking to myself, well, how do I just focus on this aspect? How do I just do this? And funny story, before the algorithm put the hypnotherapy college in front of me, I had minimal interest in hypnosis. My only exposure to it previously was a kooky book from 1907 written on the subject, and it's, in retrospect, very wacky. And I I had this school come across my page, and it sounded interesting. It was kind of down the line of what I was looking into doing. So I called the school, talked with their admissions a little bit, and was pretty interested. They presented some things to me that really interested me because it really doesn't focus on hypnosis. It's what you do with hypnosis. Because I can teach my 6-year old kids how to hypnotize somebody in an hour. It's easy. The putting someone in trance is not a difficult thing. It's the what do you do with it? It's the education around that, the how the subconscious works, how to speak to the subconscious, things like that. That's where my training came in. And I was in school for about three classes before my mind was just completely blown. And I spent the next series of time getting my mind consistently blown by things I learned, things I did, things I personally experienced. So it was a circuitous but interesting road that got here.
Well, I mean, your story is very interesting because, first of all, you mentioned the pandemic, and you were looking for other things,
Mhm.
and you know what? I've had many people on the show that their lives or lives actually have changed in
Mhm.
since the pandemic hit us 2 years ago, and they literally found their callings for
Yeah,
true
absolutely.
stories. I mean, this is like even this. I mean, I
Yeah.
started just before the pandemic, literally, but really it took off better, in the pandemic
It
because with
allowed you to
Zoom.
focus.
Exactly, and I had the time, and I was able to establish a lot of things, and it built nicely. So I can relate to it personally.
Yeah. A lot of people followed their passion because here it is. What's your other choice? What are you going to do? You can't do anything else. So do what you love. And people discovered that that's what they wanted to do and that they could do that. And we were people that I talk to my clients that are like coming to me with success oriented things a lot about how this is a very significant time because before to follow your passion was such a massive risk. You had to give up everything, risk all of these things. The risk just got taken for you. Like the risk aspect is gone. So you people realized they no longer had an excuse to not follow their dreams. Now you had the ability to. So be it learning another language or playing an instrument or pursuing a new career, there was a lot of that happened. I think that was cool.
It is. I mean, it was. And again, sometimes we looked at the pandemic as a tragedy, which it is, and it was, and it still is, to a degree.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people, addressed it, in their own ways. And to your point, many have found a calling and took advantage of the time that they had. And to your point, it also clarified a lot of things. So you had a job, and all of a sudden you didn't have a job,
Yeah.
and that gives you the question, like, wait a minute, what I've been doing? I mean, I should be thinking something different. Maybe this is time for me to begin again or restart
Exactly.
my life in a different way. And they did. So now let's talk about the topic of today. So hypnosis. Now,
Mhm.
I have been exposed to it a couple of times. As a matter of few times, as a matter of fact. So I've watched it. I've participated in it. I have, in my workspace, like in the business world, in corporate, we've used a session one time where we had the hypnosis come in and do a session for us, for our sales team. I've also tried it because I was a little bit skeptical, and I was on a ship, and and cruises, they do bring in some awesome talent, and it was three times, three different ships, three cruising, where they had a hypnosis session or a few sessions,
Mhm.
and of course some of them are fun because to watch just people on the stage and
Oh,
getting
yeah.
crazy, that's awesome, but so of course the question is like everybody's like, is that really working? Are these people really like in it? Are these people like really, doing that? And or, for me, for the first thing was I don't want to be on there because I don't know what my personality is
Well,
gonna look like. So
that's
so
the
then
thing.
well, hold on. So before that, so then one day they had a special session. They said, okay, if you guys just participate in this, and you'll see, experience it. So I was like, you know what, the hell,
Mm.
I'm gonna do this. And they did a topic about food. So like how to control your food habits and maybe like even lose weight. Not that I didn't I didn't need to lose weight, but at the same time I needed to have maybe a better habit about how to eat
Absolutely.
and control my just appetite, right?
Most people
And
can, yeah.
and believe it or not, I took the session. I even timed the session, and to my dismay, it was like almost like whoa. It was it felt like 5 minutes, and it was 30 minutes.
Mhm.
And when I kind of realized that it was like real, so I started believing that it's real. And of course I did more research and I understand it's real. And I talked to the hypnotherapist, at the time. And what I noticed though is actually it worked for years. I really didn't have the need to eat as much as I did before. I was very in control of what I picked up in food and things like that. It actually worked in terms of what I needed to achieve from that particular session. So for
Absolutely.
me, it did work. But so let's. I know you were excited. You ready to actually jump on the mic and tell us about that. But so let's talk about what is the definition of hypnosis. How does it really work? And then we can talk about the skeptics and who does it work for, who does it not work for. Is it for
Um,
everyone? And all the good stuff.
well, there is no such thing as I cannot be hypnotized. That is not a thing. There, it is a natural process that you are in a minimum of twice a day. 30 minutes before you go to sleep and 30 minutes after you wake up, you are in the trance state. And what is the trance state? Well, the trance state is the elevated theta pattern of your brain. So our brain has different wave patterns for different purposes. Alpha is relaxed, beta is attentive, gammas are information gathering, delta is sleep. Then we have theta patterns. Theta patterns are present in hypnosis, in meditation, in deep prayer. It is debatable what it's actually used for, but it serves a very unusual purpose and it's encountered some very unusual, consistent places. And so there's these people that say, like, oh, I'm skeptical if hypnosis exists. Then you're skeptical of sleep. Then you are skeptical of what is a natural process of the human body. And there's these people that say, oh, I can't be hypnotized. One, they're the quickest ones to put under. And two, it's just fear that makes them say it. We all want to think we cannot be hypnotized, but we are every day, even if it's by ourselves or if it's by media and advertising and all of that. All of these things are hypnotic in nature. Now, to actually kind of give an explanation as to what is happening with hypnosis, what the anatomy of hypnosis is. So, your mind is divided into different sections, so to speak. And at your very, very core base level is what's called your primitive mind, fight, flight, or freeze. It is your lizard brain, so to speak, the instinct. And above that, you have what makes up the vast majority of your mental process, and that is your subconscious. That is everything from automatic function in the body, heartbeat, things like that, to your associations, your learned behaviors, things like that. And the easiest way for me to illustrate what an association or learned behavior means is we all have a smell that links us directly back to a childhood memory. And that memory is vivid. You can see it, you can smell it, you can taste it. It takes you back to a crystallized moment. That's association. That is actually what's referred to as an anchor, because it is a piece of sensory input that anchors you to a memory or a feeling, and that can be utilized in hypnosis. Anyway, so your subconscious makes up, depending on the data you're looking at, between 80 to 90% of your mind. The remaining leftovers is your conscious mind. And all your conscious mind is in charge of is active processes, logic, reason, decision making. That's it. And in between those two things is something called the critical filter. Sometimes in other modalities, it's referred to as the gatekeeper. And what this does is this filters information from and into your subconscious for processing or for use. And what the elevated theta state of trance does is it removes that critical filter and allows the subconscious to be directly communicated with. So that's the long and boring of it.
Well, so there's a couple of things. I mean, I did mention concept earlier,
Mm.
and I know you looked at me like, it, so let's just get rid of that word. Obviously, it's not a concept; it's real, and
Well,
you.
I can run with something. I can play devil's advocate even there,
All right.
because consciousness is a concept. The subconscious is a concept. And that's the interesting thing about what I do is everything about what I have said and will say is evidentially provable, reproducible. It is science. With that in mind, what even am I working with? What is the conscious mind? It's like being able to repair a car without being able to tell you what that car even does, who made it, or what it's for. But I can make it go, I can make it do a thing, but I don't know anything else about it because no one does. That's one of those questions that's just out there. What is the mind even? Yet it is my office, essentially. It's where I work.
Amazing. It's a mystery, but we've well, I mean, there's a lot of things, right? I mean, some people believe in soul, right?
Mhm.
And spirit and all this stuff. We haven't seen a lot of things, but we believe in them, right? Some of us, at least,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
concept, right?
Well, we
But
know we're present. We know
that's right.
consciousness is evident in every single person because we can all perceive it, yet
Mhm.
we cannot define it. We cannot. The only reason we know it's real is because every one of us on Earth experiences it every day. So it's a weird question. It's always one I
Well,
like to
it's
throw out
fun.
there.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So you mentioned earlier that hypnosis is present with us daily.
Mhm.
I mean, you said before we go to sleep,
Mhm.
when we wake up and throughout the day. Now,
Mhm.
I know I've heard of road hypnosis, which I've
Yep.
experienced.
Oh yeah.
Many times
Oh yeah.
I just, you could drive into the same, destination, and one day you're on the phone, you're talking, and you're really going somewhere else, and you
You
want that
space it
taken,
out. Yeah.
yeah, and you space out. You either take that same road that you always took, or and then you're like, what the hell? Or sometimes you don't even realize that
Yep.
you've got through the whole thing until you get to your destination.
Exactly.
And that happened to me. And I think everybody watching and listening probably can be,
Oh, yeah.
oh, that happened to me too.
Mhm.
So that's actually a very simple thing. But to your point, it's subconsciously. Your mind is already working it. It's like you don't even care anymore about driving. You just
Mhm.
drive.
Oh, highway
And
hypnosis is absolutely actually hypnosis.
listen, I wouldn't even deny it because I
Yeah.
know many times, I mean,
Yeah.
over the years that I've seen it, especially when you take the same road all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking and stuff. You don't even pay attention to anything going on. You're just like in the zone. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, damn, what happened? I'm here
That
already.
that process of subconscious knowing, that's kind of one of the things that we use in hypnosis, because when it's called the hypnotic law of repetition. Whenever you have repeated something enough times, it becomes natural. And normally you have to do something many, 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 many times to get to that point. to get your subconscious to assume mastery, so to speak. Or you can do that in hypnosis. The subconscious simply has to be convinced that you know that you can. Ask any professional athlete how they perform. They don't doubt. They know. They know they're able to run that fast. They know they're able to perform the skills needed far in excess of most people. There is no doubt. There is no moment of, hey, can I do this? Their subconscious simply knows. And the knowing is one of the things that makes them so good at what they do. And it's the same with everything in life. It's simply just the knowing.
Well, it's like we say, practice makes perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing it physically, consciously, but I think subconsciously you're doing it as well. So that's I think what that comes from.
Well, here's an interesting study that has popped up in the hypnotherapy community. When guided through hypnotically on a skill, be it a golf game or bowling or sport, whatever have you, take your pick, through the use of something called mirror neurons that exist in the brain, you are able to see an improvement in performance just from walking somebody through something in hypnosis. It is almost the same as if you had actually done so, if you had actually done that practice. Visualization is key. And there's an interesting reason for that. And that is your subconscious is incapable of differentiating between fact and fiction. An imagined event is just the same to it as a real event, which a lot of interesting things can be said about reality at that point. But to see this illustrated, I assume you've seen a movie. Have you ever seen a movie that made you sad or angry or feel anything?
Of course.
Of course, yeah.
I don't think anyone out there.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know anyone who didn't
Why?
experience
It's
it.
a lie. It's a falsehood. It's a fiction. You know, logically, this thing does not exist for real, yet you feel all of these authentic emotions. Why? You consciously know it's a lie. You subconsciously cannot tell the difference. So that is part of the way hypnosis is used therapeutically, is our memories exist as a perception. To talk about, let's say, trauma, because I work with a lot of overcoming traumatic memory. Our perception, our remembrance of that memory is what determines the way we feel about it. And if our remembrance does not focus upon the traumatic parts, then the trauma itself fades. So it's all, because memory is a weird thing. We want to think that memory is perfect and that we recall things so well. Witness testimony is considered to be one of the worst forms of evidence in court, because you can put 10 different people in front of a single thing and ask them what happened, and they'll give you 10 different stories, and they will each believe that they saw it from their perspective. And as far as your world, your reality, your experience is concerned, yes, that is the case, because objective does not matter when it comes to memory. As much as people want to think that they're logical or thinking creatures, objective memory is near impossible, because there is always lenses of bias. There's always lenses of experience and whatever have you. Everything shapes our perception, and our perception shapes our memory, and that perception can be changed very easily.
Well, Robert, you know, you're really hitting on a lot of deep stuff here, but one of the elements I do believe, by the way, that reality is it depends on whose reality it is.
Yeah.
Because right now you're on the other side of this camera, I'm on this side here, but you're experiencing the world based on your reality, and
exactly.
Yeah, we're exchanging this, you know, together. We have an exchange here, but the way I recall it, and I've had this debate with many people, where the two of us can look at something and literally, and we see this like when we say something's beautiful, something's ugly, or whatever, and two people have, you know, two different opinions about the same, you know, person or thing, right? oh my God, that's great art. Oh, that's ugly. That's because they're seeing it from a different reality. This is like,
Exactly.
I mean, it's amazing because the timing is almost perfect for this discussion because we just, we know that Meta is the new name of Facebook or the company behind, all these platforms, but the metaverse, which is a new thing that upcoming and it's big right now. It's coming up. It's like almost the next virtual life that we might have to socialize in. But really, that's exactly, that's just a human way of making it. But there is beyond that. I mean, this is like almost as people may refer to as a matrix.
I
or
mean, there is, if you want to get out there is
go for it, baby.
a whole field of quantum sciences that exist. And those are the ones researching consciousness and what it means to think and exist. And there is far more research successfully being done in that area than most people think. And one of my heroes is this man named Dr. Dean Radin. He runs the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and that's what they do. They do research on consciousness, on perception, on reality, so to speak. And one of the consistent indications that they have is that thought is capable of affecting reality. Our intent is capable of affecting reality. And that's one of the things that if somebody is coming to me and they want to change something about their life, one of the first things that I really discuss with them is this concept called homeostasis. And that is best described as our normal, what your subconscious views as your expectations from life. And this is the reason that we become wildly successful. This is also the reason we stay in abusive relationships, because of our own self-perception. And if you think back to any time where you've changed your life, where you have decided that it is time to be something different, to do something different, it hasn't been as a series of gradual logical decisions. It is because your current situation becomes intolerable. So you raise up your expectations of your world, and your world forms around you. And there are many different ways to explain this. Have you ever heard of the law of attraction?
Yes.
The secret thing. Well, there's a scientific explanation for that. And the explanation lies in something called the reticular activating system. I actually just taught a class on this, so I can show you. It is that. This is your reticular activating system, and it does a few things. One of the main things that it does is it filters people, places, things, information, visual data, everything around your goals. Anytime people talk about how, oh, it just seems like everything fell into place. Yeah, it seems like that because it was a subconscious process working overtime to make sure that you noticed the appropriate things in your world. And another function of the reticular system is it's what controls your transition to sleep. And in that, it controls your transition to trance. So the exact same system that I work with to put people in and out of trance happens to be the same system that your brain uses to direct you towards your goals. And the law of attraction is nice. If that's what you have to say to believe it, that's cool and all. But to me, it is an oversimplification of what is a magnificent function of the human mind, that we are able to, when we set our mind to it, literally mold our reality into what we desire. And there isn't anything metaphysical about that. There isn't even anything theoretical about that. It is tangible and provable. And many people have experienced it. And that same perception of reality is one of the things that I work with. And it's, again, I work with a large variety of issues because I work fully remote. This, as you see it, is my office. And I have clients who want to lose weight. I have clients with combat PTSD. I have clients overcoming severe childhood trauma. I have clients that want to stop smoking.
Mm,
I have one client wants to improve his golf game.
nice.
It's this wild variety of things that I am capable of helping with, because my joking slogan that I almost actually made official but decided against was, it's all in your head, because it is. Everything, every single thing is in your head. Reality, your sense of self, time, perception, everything exists to you only and only in your head. There's nowhere else in this moment in space time that it exists. Everything that you are and were and will be exists within your head. And my modality is the way that you directly interact within that system. And it's it's different from, say, talk therapy or something like that, because talk therapy, you talk about your problems, which I'm not really a big fan of. We'll talk about your problems a little bit, but like I say, like if I'm working with somebody with trauma, I will never ask you what happened. Very rarely.
Mm,
That's not our concern. I'm not going to ask you to relive that. All I need to know is that something happened at this point in your life. And from there, we work on diminishing association. And the diminishing association starts with the, I don't need to hear about that. We don't need to speak about that. This isn't vital to that healing. And it starts right there. Someone's healing starts from the moment they call me for a consultation, because I set up expectations of where we're going to go. And one of the things I'm asked a lot is, of course, how long does this take?
mhm,
And there's no answer for that, because I don't know you. Only you know you. Again, it's all in your head. And what I can say is that on a session to session basis, you will see change. You will know change. And based upon that session to session change, you will be able to have a good idea of how close you are to your goals. And it's honestly, it's kind of entertaining, because it's doubly so a question I don't want to answer, because most of my clients right now, we're not even working on what they came to me for anymore. The work has been done, the progress has been made, and they're still coming back, because we were able to foster this substantial change in your life to make you lose the weight, stop smoking the cigarettes, to sleep a full night without pain. And now what else would you do? Logically would think, well, where else can I do this? What else can I improve? So that's what we're doing. That's, we just move on to other things. You came for pain, let's talk about your perception, let's make it easier for you to work out, let's, whatever you want, whatever have you, with the way that you want to customize your own thinking, so to speak, is what we do. My clients, we get these results, and they keep coming back,
mm,
because the pain's gone, or the weight's gone, or you haven't smoked. So what else can we do? What else can we improve in your life? What other thinking can we improve? And that's one of the things that makes hypnosis so incredibly powerful, is the fact that everything does only exist within our own head. In the end, the only voice that really exists to us is that voice in our own head. That's the most powerful voice in our life. And one of the things I like to ask first and foremost is, whose voice is that? Is it your own? Is it your parents? Whose is it? What is your internal voice? Because it's not the same with everyone at all. Some people hear their father, some people hear themselves, some people hear a friend. It's interesting as to whose voice pops up. and everyone's internal monologue. And learning that is generally an important thing to working with someone in hypnosis, because I have this very interesting idea that we are all children. We all exist as an 8-year-old child in our head, because that's our primary stage of development, age 0 to 8. And so, at our core, what it means to be you is to be that 8-year-old version of yourself. And what it means to be an adult is to learn how to parent that version of yourself. And that's why it's important to me to ask, who's your internal voice? Because many times I find that people speak to themselves very abusively and hold themselves to a very kind of aggressive standard that they won't necessarily hold to other people. And that is the first question I ask is, would you want to speak to your own child that way? Or would you want someone to speak to you that way when you were that age? Because that's effectively what you're doing. Because if you think about when we react to something viscerally, when it is a core gut reaction, it's the same way you reacted to things as a child. And it's just layered with more complex emotion and learning on top of it. But that first visceral reaction is identical to our childhood reaction, because we're all just bigger, stronger kids by the time we grow up. We have different developmental phases stacked on top of it, but at our core, we are always that small child version of ourselves.
Wow. Well, that's a lot of stuff to absorb right now. So the audience is like, wait a minute, it's funny. I have to say, you have a unique voice. I mean, you really can hypnotize someone quickly.
Uh-huh.
Hold on, am I still awake? I don't know.
I actually won a bet, because I bet one of my peers that I could trance him with the phone book, and did.
I'm not even paying with you, man. But it will be an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, thank you for clarifying that. And there's a couple of things you mentioned. One being, it's all in your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I can possibly maybe refer to is the dream world, right?
Mm-hmm.
We sleep, and you really live your dream. I mean, it feels real. You have a life, you're talking, maybe sometimes different languages. You're traveling, you're flying, you're doing all kind of stuff that is unique in that dream world. You talked about quantum and all these research, but the dream world, I mean, like if we were to ask this question today to everyone watching and listening, is this real or you're dreaming? Do you know that maybe this is the dream? You're going to wake up now and all of a sudden this show will be just a dream. It's kind of deep stuff. It's like, it's mind blowing stuff. Like, whoa, what the hell? And some people will be like, oh, man, this is like a crazy show, right? But the fact of the matter, these are real, questions, and people sometimes don't reflect on them.
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned dream therapy or dreams, because dream therapy was part of my training. And we actually have 3 different types of dreams. We have the predictive phase of our dreams, where it's just what it sounds like. It's our subconscious taking known data and trying to predict things. And then there's what can basically be referred to as like the fantasy phase. It's the riding a lobster into IHOP phase. It's where we get our weird dreams. And the dreams that I am interested in and that do hold significance are what's called venting dreams. And those occur at the end of your sleep cycle. If you've woken up out of a dream, that is a venting dream and likely has significance. Now, here's the trick. I tell a lot of people that I do dream interpretation and dream therapy, and you think I have a dictionary of predefined terms of what a symbol means. And that is horse crap. That does not work. Like, for example, like in one of those books, a snake is normally defined as a symbol of some type of impending doom. What if you're a snake farmer? Like, what if you love snakes? Like, And that's where the key of dream interpretation lies, is your personal symbology, your personal metaphors. What does this dream mean to you? And that's where my dream interpretation comes in. Oftentimes I'll have clients send me in a full typed out kind of report on their dreams, and I'll actually go through highlighters and pens and all of that and deconstruct that dream into its full meaning, because your subconscious speaks in symbols and metaphor and inference. It doesn't speak in logic and language. That's only your conscious mind that does that. But your subconscious, it's it's language, its literal language is it's the dream language. It's symbols. It's what is this odd, what does riding the lobster into the IHOP actually mean? And it's it's kind of trippy, because it's a much more accurate form of dream interpretation, because you get to the crux of what that dream means to that person. And oftentimes you can use that information to resolve something that is bothering that person in their conscious waking life. You just have to be able to work with them and adapt their symbols into a language that you and they can understand.
Well, so Robert, since we're talking about dreams right now, what about the concept of daydreaming? I mean,
That's hypnosis.
It's exactly. So that is exactly what the state of hypnosis is transit.
100%.
All right. Well, so that answers that.
And that's always been a thing with me. Like, I can space out that fast. And I've always thought I was just a space cadet, because I could just literally stare at a wall and just start running through all of these thoughts and experiences, things like that. And I come to find out that I basically just live in my subconscious, that at the slightest drop of a hat, I'll just kind of drop my own critical mind and hang around in my subconscious. And it's something I've done since I was a small child. So my entire life has been spent preparing to work in this state. And like, when I work with clients, I don't use scripts. I don't read off of anything. I come in with a handful of notes as to questions I want to ask. But other than that, it's all me connecting with my individual client and giving them a personalized experience based upon how their own subconscious reacts and speaks. And I can, through the process of watching somebody and me myself going partially into that state with them, monitor their reactions. I can see when a suggestion had impact. I can see when a suggestion was rejected. I can see when someone goes deeper. It's an interesting thing to watch, because one of the things that struck me as the most profound about hypnosis was the physiological reactions that occur as someone goes in. Your eyes will move, your breathing changes. There's ways that the body moves in hypnosis that are not the way the conscious body moves at all. And it's that physiological difference that stands out so much to me, because you can't fake that. I used to be an EMT for a little while, so I have a little bit of medical training. And it's the things that I saw for those first couple of classes, I knew that's not fake. You cannot fake that reaction. You cannot make your arm move like that if you consciously tried. And that's when I started thinking, like, this might be like an actual thing. And then they dumped all the research, and I keep like 500 pages of medical and psychological research on every subject of hypnosis possible, from academic achievement to helping bone growth to controlling blood loss and surgery, which is apparently a thing that you can do with hypnosis. Yeah, there's a report I have from UC Berkeley Medical Center on how you can use hypnosis to control localized blood loss and the surgical suite. I don't know. And the only thing I can think is that our subconscious controls so much more than our memory and associations. It also controls our bodily regulation. And we've all seen videos of those like monks in Tibet that
Mhm.
can sit naked in freezing temperatures, and you can throw a wet towel on them and they dry it off and they never shiver once. And that is simply an expression of an exaggerated theta state. You have enough experience within that part of your mind to take over manual control of certain functions of your body. And that is something that everyone is capable of doing. One of my favorite things to do, it's not here right now. I have a little thing called a galvanic skin response meter, and it has a temperature probe on it. And one of the things I do for mental training is you tape this probe around in the palm of your hand and you sit there and you concentrate on lowering the temperature and raising the temperature. And it's only going to be by about 1 degree, but it's still causing your skin temperature to fluctuate by your own will. And it teaches you the breathing that you have to do to get into that state, the things you must concentrate on to affect that change. And it is a machine. There is no fooling around with it. It is simply what it is. And the first time I sat there and really let myself go into that and willed that temperature to go up and saw the needle start to spike up, it freaked me out because it implies so much.
Well, Robert, I mean, you're hit on a very important piece of the discussion here about the power of the mind, right?
Mhm.
And we all know that humans barely use their mind. As
Yeah.
the smartest of us, using a small percentage of what the capabilities are, at least that are identified in terms of what the mind could be. And 10% will almost do crazy stuff. I mean, that's what
Well,
the studies are saying.
that is a myth. We use 100% of our brain. What that 10% comes from is our conscious mind.
There
That
you
is
go.
what that means. It
But
just the
that's
data.
big. But that's
That's
big.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the data got misinterpreted. The other 90% has a lot to do. You have a wildly complex machine to maintain at all times, and people don't realize that. People don't realize how complex your body is to just make wake up in the morning, and the amount of incredible processes it needs to do that. Your brain dwarfs any computer out there. No matter how the dumbest one of us still has a brain that can outperform a computer simply because of the functions that we are not even aware of. Do, do you know how much of a miracle your circulatory system is? I mean, it's the things that exist in the human body that your brain is in control of are truly fascinating. And that's one of the interesting things I like to do with people, as because I like to throw in some fun sessions every now and again. Like if we've worked on weight loss for several sessions, well, this next time we're going to take a trip through your body. You're going to be able to perceive your respiratory system, to perceive your circulatory system, and actually actively notice these parts of your body that you've never given notice to before, that you can, that in hypnosis you are capable of feeling the blood go through your body. You are capable of feeling the oxygen go throughout your body when you breathe in. You are capable of altering your perception to notice all of these different things because they're just filtered out. Like we spoke about with the RAS system, it filters stuff in, it filters stuff out. One of the wildest examples of it, sorry to interrupt you,
No, no, no. Go ahead.
is I think it was in the 80s or 90s. There was like a jetliner that had to make an emergency landing, I think in Japan. And like 12 people hit it. And when asked, well, why did you run your car into the giant white jet? They didn't see it because where in your homeostasis, in your life script, in your perception of what reality is, does a 747 pop up in front of you on the highway? So your brain just filters it out as useless information, and then you hit the plane.
Wow. That is interesting. Well, you mentioned something earlier, and I think that's a reality to all of us listening, watching, and it's important that you mentioned something about the capabilities of the mind, right? If you think of something long enough and you really believe in it long enough, it becomes real.
Mhm.
And good or bad. And so we refer
Absolutely.
to it sometimes mindset, right? It's
Yeah.
all about the mindset. But
Mhm.
really it's deeper than that. I mean, if you really think positive and want things to be positive and up positive, you'll start seeing positive. You see the results.
Yes.
And
I'm evidence of that. I spent most of my life as an intensely negative, hateful person. Like not even hateful towards anything specific, just kind of hated everything. And it's because of that, it blew my mind when a couple of people from my past learned that I was helping people now because they're like, really? Him?
how
Okay.
did you do that?
Um, but it's there just came a time when I realized that all I saw was the negative because all I thought was the negative. And it's again that reticular activating system. Oh, all you see is negative. All you want to see is negative. We are just going to filter out only the negative into your perception. So, yeah, that's why it's so difficult whenever somebody's like in a depression and you can tell them how great their life is until your face is blue. It doesn't matter to them because their current homeostasis, their life script says that everything is crap and that's all they can see. And that's literally all they can see. And it's not a fault of their own. That is simply their brain feeding in different information. And that's the wild thing about it. Go
Well, no, I'm saying so they become really convinced of whatever that
ahead.
reality that they've
Oh
lived.
yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
almost like, they cannot accept anything different. And
They
and and
literally don't see anything different.
there you go. That's the key
Yeah,
word. Not even seeing that it exists. But you
yeah.
see, here you've mentioned. I mean, thank you for sharing that with us. But really, you said it. You're a good example. You've seen the world different. You
Hmm.
made the transition, and you see it now opposite. You're helping people become
Absolutely.
better. So for listeners and viewers, I think that's a great piece
Hmm.
of advice. I mean, doesn't matter where you are today, you can turn things around. You can still
Absolutely.
you have the capabilities and the possibilities within you. Anyone listening, watching, don't think that this is not something that you can achieve. Uh, so
Absolutely.
so that brings us to your work.
Hmm.
You've mentioned a couple things. You get a client. They have different reasons why
Hmm.
they seek your help. And from a golf, as you said, I want to get a nice little run on that one. It could be from an athlete, could be from just in general. Like I
Hmm.
mentioned, the example of food, right? Or like at least appetite. And
Hmm.
I've seen this actually where people had different sessions where they actually, I attended one session where these people have problems with their pain, like they cannot really stand up. They had
Hmm.
bad knees and things, and I've seen them going after the trends and really standing up like there was no pain.
Hmm.
Now you would think, like, again, as a skeptic, you'd be like, wow, come on, that's a trick. It was not trick. These are I've seen these people actually coming in on a wheelchair to the ship,
Hmm.
and they're not part of the show, and they did participate, and they saw a difference in that particular half hour, session that they had. So it is definitely real, and we've seen people in the time of fear and things doing stuff like picking up cars, doing stuff
Hmm.
that you might even think about, and this is not fake. It's real. We've seen it out there, and so your work is really to get the people to change, basically,
Hmm.
for
Basically.
whatever reason. Now that brings us to the skeptical part, or the scary part.
Hmm.
You have suggestions that you present to people, and
Hmm.
and so it's funny because I was watching. There's a movie on Netflix. It's called Hypnotic.
I know I have done 3 interviews so far debunking it.
Good. Well, yeah. So perfect, perfect. Because people are gonna watch that movie and they'll be like, "Damn, I am not going close to any
No, you
therapist."
can keep an eye on my website, and I'll have many interviews being posted over the next few weeks of ones I've done specifically because of that. I made myself endure that movie because of debunking it. I've my notes on it are around here somewhere. I actually took notes on that garbage movie.
Well, again, it's a movie, right? So, like you said earlier, it's not real, but it is hypnotic, literally, because people seeing that, they seeing it, perceiving it as reality, and that's
Hmm.
what they take. and that we'll talk about suggestions and like literally associations that we live, because early on in the beginning of the show you talked about it's every day in front of us. We're getting things on TV, marketing, all that. So we'll talk about it. But really, so people are afraid. If I go to you right now, I'm on the show. If you know you wanted to really take me under, you could, and there's nothing I could do. You can make me do things, you know. But that's the question, is because people will think, can you really do harm with hypnosis? Can you have someone do something bad?
Nope.
And I think that's the dangerous part that people, you know, are, well, they're not, it's not that dangerous, but people
that
think
is a misconception. You cannot be hypnotized into doing anything that you would be morally opposed to. You cannot ask someone to go against something within their own ethical structure. I could not trance someone and be like, hey, stab that guy in the chest. That's not going to be a thing. If I were, say, in hypnosis, or I had someone in hypnosis and I did something like that, I made a suggestion that was wild, that was something they would be opposed to, they would come right out of hypnosis, just like that, like a bad dream. That whenever your subconscious encounters something that jarring, it's out. It puts the critical filter back up and it puts the conscious mind back forward. It's the same reason that whenever we have a bad dream, we wake up. It's your fail safe. And these movies that exist that portray hypnosis in this weird light, it's all fake. The way they display it, it's none of that could happen. Like that movie Hypnotic. They have that cop talking about how detectives use hypnosis to extract testimony. No, that is not a thing. That's actually not allowed in court. That's a quick way to lose your case. And there's all sorts of reasons for that. I can't make someone hallucinate something vividly in the daytime, like hours after the fact with some suggestion word. That's not the way it works. And they mentioned MK Ultra in that movie. Yes, MK Ultra existed. Yes, MK Ultra worked with implanting memories and doing all this weird mind control stuff. That wasn't hypnosis. That was drugs. Like MK Ultra and all the projects under it, like Project Bluebird, Project Artichoke, they used drugs, intense amounts of drugs. And I was discussing this earlier today about that movie because, again, I have to talk about it more than I want to.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. It's something I do on purpose because it needs to be addressed, because it is such flagrant BS that there's this you can look into everything MK Ultra did and what it was about, and hypnosis had little to nothing to do with that, but they know it's a buzzword. They know people will pay attention to it. And everything that they show hypnosis to be capable of in that movie, it is not. That's simply not how it works. You're aware most of the time in hypnosis outside of the deeper levels of trance. And I actually showed this during one of my most recent interviews. So this is a little blurry. This is what's called the Aaron's depth scale. And this represents the different levels of trance. And between level 1 to 3, right here, that's called the mimetic trance levels. You're fully aware. Everything that's being done, everything that's being said, you are fully aware. Now, these next 3, that's the amnesiatic trance. Starting at level 4, you'll get about 20% memory loss, up to 50 and 80 plus. And these different things, even though the picture's crappy and blurry, they have different aspects of the things that can be achieved, all the way up to the 6th level of trance, which you can actually operate on people with. There is something called hypnoanesthesia that has been used many times in the past. And one of the things they don't talk about in that movie, because of course they don't, is you cannot go into that deep a level of trance right away. I have clients that can reach about level 5, I would imagine. They are the ones that have worked with me for an extended period of time. who have grown to trust me, who have grown to associate my voice with trance heavily. Those are the clients I have that I can pretty much sit them down and go, all right, you ready? Cool. Deep sleep. And they're down. And they're like, that's the core lesson from that, is that the primary ingredient of hypnosis and hypnotherapy is trust. If you do not trust me, I cannot hypnotize you. I have an interesting document that is the CIA investigation on hypnosis for interrogation. And basically the conclusion that it comes to is, yeah, you could technically use it if somebody was totally unaware that they were being interrogated. But if somebody knows that they're being interrogated, knows you're trying to use hypnosis, you're not going to do a single thing against them. And that's because the primary ingredient of what's called heterohypnosis, which is where I trance someone else, is trust. It's trust in my ability and my authority. And it's without that present, you won't go very far. And that's the go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Robert. So that's because I've seen this when there are people that go on stage, for example, they just basically do not go under. It's just almost like they refuse to be under the actual, hypnosis, and they just basically, and I've seen the people that on the stage, I mean, the hypnotherapists, they just say, you know what, thank you very much, have a great day, and leave, because they're not even feeling it, they're not even into it, so they're not even allowing anything to happen. So you're right.
You can fight me all day.
Yeah. Well, so that brings me to a question. Earlier you said you cannot potentially get someone to do something if it's against their moral ethics, right? But now let's say you don't know me. I can be a bad, bad everything in my mind, right? And you put me under that trance, and all of a sudden, my bad, comes out. And so how do you prevent that? If someone, I mean, literally, because someone can say, well, you said you cannot have someone do bad things, but if I'm a bad person, maybe that's what's going to be triggered, or maybe that's just also a myth.
In theory, if you had someone who was, say, intensely sociopathic and you hypnotize them, in theory, yeah, you probably could get them to do something really pretty bad, because that's within their realm of moral acceptability. You're not asking them to do anything that is outside of their realm of possibility. Their homeostasis totally involves them doing violent acts.
So they do it anyways.
They do it anyway.
Right.
Where the trick in that is, and this is part of the reason you don't really work with people like that, is how do you get them to not do it? How do you get them in hypnosis to get that emotional reaction that they're supposed to have? And there is some work done with that. I very rarely work with a psych referral, though I have in the past. And what that means is this person's undergoing psychiatric treatment, and their doctor believes that hypnotherapy will be a good addition. Many things that I work with, I require medical referral or psychological referral to work with. If we're working with pain at all, I'm going to need a referral from your GP. If we're working with a diagnosed mental condition, PTSD, clinical anxiety, clinical anything, if you have an official diagnosis of it, I need a referral from your primary care doctor. And part of the reason for that is to be able to work together. I love working with people's doctors and therapists and things like that, because at that point we get to communicate. I get to talk about the work I've done. You tell me the work that you've tried to do. We compare notes and we actually help this person. And I've had a lot of luck with that. And that's a lot of fun to do, because you come together as a team to make sure that this person improves. So it's one of those interesting things that my scope of practice is really wild, because it's whatever is I can get the sign off for. If that doctor believes it can help and that client believes it can help, I could work with, in theory, anything. There's some things I don't work with. Any type of schizoaffective disorder is very risky to work with in hypnosis because the map's different, is really what it boils down to. uh I with pretty reasonable accuracy can assume most people's association with most things. A fire hydrant isn't going to scare you, yet a schizophrenic or somebody with schizoaffective disorder, you don't know their associations. You don't know what's going on in their mind, and what could be perceived as completely harmless could trigger an episode in them.
Mhm.
And so that's why that's one of those things that I have peers that work with those type of clients, and I just refer out.
Well, listen, I mean, it's a comfort zone, right? But you
Yeah.
did say something very interesting. I think that is noble because in a way, you can, if someone had bad, personality or bad, tendencies, and they're going through a psych, type of treatment, you can actually almost suggest them to be different and
Mhm.
and help them to a degree, maybe almost inhibit, those tendencies and really not remove them because they're still somewhere, but you can give them like almost make them disappear at least for a phase, and maybe with long-term treatment they can eventually
Well, it's creating positive associations, positive anchors, things like that. And it's one of those things that I kind of experienced myself, that I was able to change my own perception. Uh, kind of personal information, but like I said, I've kind of been a negative person in my past. Previous to the relationship I'm in now, my longest relationship was 364 days, and I had never had a relationship that I didn't cheat. And now we just celebrated our 2-year anniversary, and I've never even thought about the idea of cheating or anything like that. It's I can say how effective this is to alter your mindset, because my own mindset has been completely changed. The way that I view myself, the way that I view other people, the standards that I hold myself and my mind to, the thoughts that I allow myself to think, the way that I speak to myself in my own internal monologue. These are all very important things to crafting the world around you. And I had an idea that if my world was so negative because all I did was think negative thoughts, could I make my world positive by thinking positive thoughts and doing positive things? It turns out the answer to that is yes. And it's actually way easier to do than the negative aspect, because it's way easier to maintain positive thinking when positive things happen. It's just easier. It's easier to live that way. It's easier to interact with people that way. And not waking up miserable at your own existence is cool.
well, it's funny because I can, this is something that's personal to me, but most sometimes I get the ask question, well, what's wrong with you? Like, there's always something wrong with someone, right?
Mhm.
Especially at job interviews and things like that. They'll ask you that question. And for me, one of my problems is that I cannot see negative.
Mhm.
I just cannot seem to I you give me any situation, I'll find something positive in it, right? And in a way, that may be something faulty there because
Well,
I have to be
no.
able. Yeah, but again, that's just my way, right?
Yeah.
So, but that was just to relate to you. But now I have a question. You
Mhm.
have you ever hypnotized yourself? Can someone
Mhm.
hypnotize themselves?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Those were my initial experiments in whether or not hypnosis could work. Self hypnosis was one of the things taught in my school pretty early, and it's it's pretty effective. My first experiment with hypnosis was I had just learned self hypnosis, and I was like, well, I'm going to see if I can't make myself like get up earlier and be more productive, because I'm very much like the wake up at noon type. Doesn't matter if I go to bed at midnight or I go to bed at 8 a.m. I'm waking up at noon. Um, and I just kind of wanted to see. So I went through the process of self hypnosis and gave myself the suggestion to get up earlier and do something. And that first day, nothing happened. Second day, I tried it, and I ended up, it was around 9:30 in the morning before I realized I'd already been up for an hour and be cleaning the house. And it just kind of dawned on me the way that happened. And ever since then, I've realized how powerful giving yourself suggestions could be. Now, like, you're not going to really overcome personal trauma or anything like that with self hypnosis. But if you're talking about focusing motivations or uh, feeling a certain way throughout the day, yes, that's very important. It's very doable. The easiest way to give yourself self hypnotic suggestions is morning affirmations. Like I said, 30 minutes after you wake up, you are naturally in the state of trance. So that's why morning affirmations even exist. Those are literal hypnotic suggestions for the day. And so I used to think it was the corniest thing ever. But if you wake up and tell yourself that it's going to be a good day, that you're going to be happy, and that you're only going to see the positive in things, you will, because that's your subconscious listening. It interprets that very literally, and that will shape your day. On the flip side to that, if you wake up and you're convinced yourself your day is going to be crap and everything is going to go wrong, yep, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Bad day.
Bad day.
Well, again, from this platform, we do not want people to wake up in the morning
No,
and say bad.
absolutely
It's
not.
always good. Wake up and, it's a nice day. Life goes on.
Say
Everything's
something
gonna be
positive to yourself. Say something encouraging to yourself. And if you can't do that, say something encouraging to someone else. And just that alone will begin to help. Because my big thing is, one of the things that is critically wrong with the world is we're just terrible to each other on a day-to-day basis as we interact. And it really boils down to, if even if you're just going to be nice to one person every day, go out of your way to do something nice to one person. Open a door, help someone into their car who has mobility issues. Do something out of genuine altruism, and that will spread. That one person will remember that, because we've all had good things done to us randomly by a stranger, and we remember it all the time. And that's one of the things you need to keep in mind. We remember kind strangers. All of us do. We could all remember that. So you can be that person to other people. You can be that person people remember. And if you do that, they move on with their day to be nice to somebody or everyone. And that causes a chain reaction. At the same time, again, the opposite also works, that if you're an ass to somebody in the day, you ruin their day, and they're going to go through and be an ass to everyone else. So it doesn't matter how you feel in the morning. If everything is just bad, go do something nice. Go do something that makes someone else feel good. Because one of the things that needs to be remembered is, we're social animals. We're not made to exist alone. We exist around each other for a reason. And that matters. What you say to people matters, even if it's just a stranger, even if it's just giving up your seat on a bus to someone that needs it. Everyone else sees that. And it's up to people to provide an example. And that's really what I came to learn. My mentor, a man named Joe Burns, he's a great man, really instilled something in me. And that's what it means to be influential. And we're not talking about like an influencer or something like that. That's not what that means. To be influential means to set the example, then have that be a good example, not fake and plastic, but to actually show people something genuine. Because when you see somebody, when you witness somebody do something genuine and do something kind, it does something to you. Seeing that kindness affects you. And that's why it's so important. Just be good, do good things. That's not a political thing, it's not an ethical thing. Good is good. Helping people's helping people. It doesn't matter beyond that. And if you can do that, if you can, no matter how bad you feel, wake up every morning, and even if you hate yourself, if you can convince yourself to show love to other people, eventually that spreads to yourself. And there really is some merit into the whole treat others how you wish to be treated, because and everyone assumed that that was about the way that everyone else interacts with them. Oh, you treat others the way you want to be treated because you expect that treatment back. No, it's your own self perception. It's how you treat yourself. That's just the way you treat others and you speak to others, in the way you act towards others, is an extension of how you feel about yourself. And when I came to realize that, when I realized that this negativity and this hatred was an expression with myself of my own personal discontent over different aspects of myself, things kind of changed. And I began to do good and to help heal people. And in that, I received the same. I had no expectation to, but through helping other people, I've helped myself possibly more than anyone else. And they had an interesting saying early on in my training, which is, you're your first client. That every therapist or hypnotherapist or psychoanalyst or whatever it is, you are your first client. And until such time as you can foster change in your own mindset, in your own life, nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody's going to want to work with you. But when people can hear you and see that you've done everything that you talk about, that you've walked that path, and that you're here to help guide other people down that path. And that's all it is. Hypnosis is not a superpower. I'm not doing anything. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I'm just a guide. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not giving you anything. You are just following along, and you're getting there yourself. And that's the thing that has to be emphasized, that once somebody has seen true change, once you've lost the weight, once you've overcome what you needed to, it needs to be emphasized at that point. I didn't do a single thing. All you've been paying me for is to hold your hand and show you the way. That's it. And after I've shown you the way, the path's clear. You can keep going down it. And which is one of those things we talk about, like guarding our mind against everything around us, the invasive influences. That's part of it. That once you've walked down that path, it begins easier to see the dangers on that path. And you start to notice all of these different ways in the world that hypnosis and suggestibility are used against you.
Robert, first of all, I mean, this was powerful. This last 5 minutes was a true power, trip, because, and I don't mean it in a negative way. It's a true power, of humans. I mean, really the advice here is about being a good person, and that starts with you. Yeah. And, if you dish it out nicely, I mean, everything else will become positive in your life. And I think that is a very strong message for our listeners and viewers right now. So I have a question. Okay. Am I right now hypnotized?
Oh, no, you know. You can be. It'll only take me a couple minutes.
Oh boy. Well, would you actually consider doing that on the live show one time, and maybe we can do it,
Absolutely.
But I wanted to just ask this. The way, first of all, thank you for clarifying everything about hypnosis, because to your point, there's so much, not so much, but there's definitely a negative, aspect, that people may think about, or perception. You've clarified that to all of us listeners and viewers. But I think also I don't see a downside to it. Based on what we have right now, it's all upside. And I think people can really use it to change their lives to better, period and out. Exactly. I mean, to your point, unless I have like crazy tendencies, and those are the exception, the majority of the world will, and even those can benefit from it in a way.
Absolutely.
But really, if we want to do something better in our lives, we want to be better educated, whatever it is, to have us, guide us and tap into that subconscious, level, and really get into a zone, I think it could be done. This is a great resource that can be used for everyone. So I would literally suggest people to reach out and
Mhm.
find out more. There's nothing that's going to be, you said it yourself, you can even self-hypnotize and you can help people
Absolutely.
just get a little bit of taste of that. And then if I get a taste of it and I feel good about it, I want more.
Absolutely. And one of the
and
things that I do is I teach a lot of classes. Like I have like 4 week, 6 week, and 8 week programs that I'll work with corporations or schools, and I will teach them about hypnosis. And it's about setting goals and focus and all of these different aspects. And the last class is always on self hypnosis, about how all of these things that we've done this past 4 or 6 or 8 weeks, here's how to be able to do them with yourself. And it's self hypnosis is still one of those things I practice all the time. I practice it so much. I have unique ways of doing it because I found shortcuts to it in my own brain. Because like I said, we all go there. It's that's a place we go every single day. And it's just a matter of knowing what that what that state serves and what to do with it. And most of the time we live only in our conscious mind, and that's nothing. There's nothing there. It's just the present. But to live in your subconscious, to interact with your subconscious, you examine the way you think, you examine the way the world works and why and how. And one of the interesting side effects that a lot of my clients talk about is an intolerance of negativity, that these people that are around them, that's just not a good influence. They can no longer tolerate people like that, because you see the poison that these people are trying to spread around, and you don't see it as anything hateful or this person as an enemy. You see it as this person is intensely wounded and this is their way that they're trying to compensate for it, but you can't be around that because of suggestion and the way that your mind works. I'm very big on the sanctity of your mind, that we just run around letting all of these influences in, be it people or advertising or whatever have you. And that it's so important that we gain control and familiarity with our subconscious, that there's this whole aspect of health that's, it's not emotional health, it's not mental health, it's not physical health, but it's all of these things plus more. And the best way I can think to describe it is subconscious or psychosomatic health, because it's your mind and your body, it's the integration of the whole system. And it's basically the mental equivalent of computer maintenance. You have old associations that need to be altered for more positive, healthy living. You have old learned behaviors that need to be reevaluated so that you can grow better as a person. It's simply just altering your programming to be able to be a more ideal version of yourself. That's it, Mike.
well, Robert, I mean, listen, I mean, this, I don't want to end this show, to be honest with you. I still have a lot of questions and we might have to definitely book a second, but
Cool.
we've actually exceeded the hour big
Okay.
time. But it's all good. Listen, I mean, I need flu. I mean, that's the great part. But I think one of the elements I'm getting. I mean, I mean, the way you're describing it and the way you're presenting it to us right now, it's simply tap into the power of your mind. I mean,
Yeah.
and getting the maximum out of it, which is important. I mean, anyone can really be successful if they did that.
Absolutely. Your mind is a fantastic computer, and you really have to learn what it's capable of, and it's capable of more than you think.
Oh, we're definitely gonna book a second one here because I'm not even done asking questions.
Feel free. I love to come back.
All right. Well, listen, definitely we're gonna do that. So we'll hold that, for the next show, because
Okay.
there's few things that there are a few things that I still want to, really, and maybe we can do a little demo.
I would love to.
We'll do something where all the listeners, viewers from that show can take something benefit. I don't know if it's just think positive. I don't know. Maybe imagine if we help, thousands of people through this view to become positive people. Imagine that.
I do group hypnosis all of the time. I'm that it can be the wording between one-on-one hypnosis and group hypnosis is a very subtle change. It's just the changing around of a few different words, but
well, I have to give a warning on the
absolutely.
show. Warning, you will be hypnotized.
It happens. But yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It was a lot of fun.
No, it was great, and frankly, it's we can. I mean, there's just so much that can be done here, and I think there is more. So I do want to guide people towards your
Absolutely.
access your services. What is the best way to? I mean, I see your logo and signature on the profile, but what is the actual website, and how can they reach out to you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is through my website. It's www.twinravens.org. My company name is Twin Ravens Hypnotherapy and Research. I'm the only one, so if you can't remember the website, just remember the company name, and you'll find me everywhere. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's always Twin Ravens Hypno. But I keep a lot of my past interviews posted on my website. There's even some of them that I do live trance and things like that. Um, and it's good information. There's suggestibility tests, and as always, anyone that has any questions, reach out to me. My consultation call is free, so it's just 15-20 minutes, and we can talk about what we can do together, what you need done, who you want to be, the way you want to live, and what I can do to get you there. And anyone that wants to, just check out the website, reach out, check out my old interviews, whatever you want. Shoot me an invite on Facebook, all that stuff. Follow me.
All right.
Everything.
Perfect. Well, listen, that's great. And by the way, Robert, do you happen? I know I've seen this before, where a few of the hypnotherapists that I've met, they had like CDs for different, smoking.
I actually have
cessation and
not
everything.
yet. I've
Okay.
thought of that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The reason I don't do that, kind of to wrap this up, I don't like pre-recorded stuff because it's the individual experience is so important. And yeah, I could probably do like sleep stuff. I've had some request for that, and I'll probably
Yeah.
end up having something like that.
That's a big one.
Because that's pretty
Smoking.
universal.
Yes.
Smoking's kind of tricky because smoking's individualized.
Okay.
But sleep and stress and things like that, that's a universal. And I've actually
Excessive
thought
eating.
about excessive eating, but I've thought about making those recordings before.
Well, listen, we definitely want to hear about that when it happens. So you and I
Awesome.
are in touch. We'll
Awesome.
definitely gonna book a second show so we can
Excellent.
dive into like today's environment and the impact of it, and some other stuff, so people can be aware of what's going on. And maybe we can even have a live Q&A that day where
I'd
people
love to.
can dial in and maybe check out.
I love
Ask
that.
questions. All right. Well, listen. So, Robert, it's been real. It's been a true pleasure, and I had fun. I hope everybody watching or listening right now will be really enjoying this episode here. And so, thank you from myself, from the channel, and we'll be talking soon. So,
Excellent.
folks,
Thanks for having me on.
you're welcome, folks. Thank you for watching, and listening on the channel here on the radio. So, we'll be talking soon. New guest, new show, new topic. Ciao for now. Bye bye.